Hi, everybody. My name is Aaron Shea, and welcome to Habitat Now. I am so excited to be into May, and we got through the grand opening of Glass 52, and I'll talk about more of that in a second. I am joined today by Sara Brown, a UK artist who is actually in Germany, getting ready for the GAS conference. It's amazing how time is flying by. I feel like GAS was just here in Detroit, and it was an exciting time here, and I bet it's going to be an incredible time in Germany. So, without further ado, I'm going to go through a little bit of what's going on at the gallery. I'm going to take over your screen and we'll talk about glass. So, you ever been to Habitat? Been around since 1971. We're the oldest and largest gallery dedicated to the glass arts, artists that focus on glass as an art medium. Um, if you ever want to join these presentations and you don't get our newsletter or you lose the link, they're always on our webpage under this little hamburger button up here. Just click the hamburger and you can click and RSVP right away, but you're welcome to come and join us. Or if you're watching this on YouTube later, like, subscribe, hit that bell. The more people that are aware of glass, the more we share it. We missed you for Glass 52 if you weren't here. We loved seeing you if you were, and it was a huge success. Had an amazing auction, great turnout of people, and an incredible opening on May 4th. We had people lined up around the block. It was a lot of fun. So if you would love for you to come see it, come and set up an appointment. The gallery is only 30 minutes from the Detroit airport, and either Corey or I would love to show you around the presentation personally. There's like 300, 400 pieces on display of contemporary glass art. You can actually see this on the AACG YouTube page and tour the presentation virtually. We did a talk last week with them, which was a lot of fun. We also do FaceTime and Zooms, and if you're looking for something particular, let us know. Also, a lot of the works are on habitat.com. Just keep that in mind. We're doing something interesting too. We're doing the I Love Glass because questionnaire. And this will be going out probably this upcoming week to a lot of our clients and friends of Habitat, asking them about their collection, their glass. Like we're excited to be part of the glass art community and want people to be more interactive, want us to be more interactive. So we're asking some questions to create a future presentation, talking about what do you love about your glass collection, what do you enjoy most about it, and tell us a story, a piece or two, so we can get an idea of why you collect in your taste and just share it as an overall narrative. We're working on something. If you want to participate in this, just let me know and I'll send you the questionnaire. Also, you can go to the tiny URL / I Love Glass to download this exact picture and go from there and contact me. It's kind of fun, something different. Well, now we're into NGG. This is our fourth year of this exhibition starting in 2021. And it is very exciting, and we're on to May. It's crazy how the year's flying by already. And we're trying to shine a light on the future of the glass arts. And this is a great way of doing it. And it's been very exciting to meet all these artists from around the world who are pushing the medium in their own idiom. And we're honored to be part of it. So Sara is here. Sara, thank you for joining me today. It is a true honor. Say hi to everybody.
Hi everyone, thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.
Great to have you. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and oh, there's available works that Sara has. You can contact me. I'm also going to post a link in the chat. So I'm going to stop sharing. And we discovered Sara's work through other artists. We discovered it on social media. It was really exciting to see the fun stuff that she's created, and I had to stop myself from eating. Feel free to take over the screen, Sara, right now.
Indeed.
I brought my snack. Hope you brought yours and my Reese's peanut butter cups. So I'm gonna nibble on those as we're looking at some fun and non-edible eats. All right, Sara, take it away.
Okay, can you see the right screen this
We
time?
can. Yep, you're all set.
Hello everyone. So I'm Sara, as you probably guessed, and I have made a collection that's called Good Enough to Eat. So hopefully it's relatively self-explanatory. And I was lucky enough that I had a photographer come to the studio. So here's one of the photographs that they took of the fondant fancies that people seem to absolutely love. I thought I would share a little bit about me and sort of how I got into glass, and I thought what better way to start that with my first painting that I did when I was about 5. So this is my version. I've loved making, painting, everything since I was small. So this was in like kindergarten, I think you'd call it. So yeah, that was my first sort of piece. I have that in my studio now.
It's
Just
wonderful. I love it. Way better than the stick figures I did as a kid.
yeah, so that's where I started. So I thought I'd tell you a bit about what I love doing outside of glass. So I love wild swimming. So I go to the lake probably once or twice a week. And yes, I am one of those crazy people who do that in the winter as well. So we smashed the ice to get in here. I think it was 1.6 degrees C, I think, that day, quite chilly. And even the ducks thought we were crazy and were stood on the lake. When it's a bit warmer, I go paddleboarding. So this is me, and I did that up in Scotland, and it was just beautiful. And I think probably with a love of glass, you love sort of how the light interacts with the land, and yeah, it's a beautiful way to spend some time. So yeah, I love traveling. At the moment, I'm in Berlin, but I do like a beach as well. And I was lucky enough to go to the Dia Muertos last year. So this was some of my pictures. It was an amazing experience. And then more back to sort of being at home. This is my little dog Poppy. She keeps me company. She's also, I think she thinks she's studio manager, but I'm not quite sure she's quite up to the task. She prefers to lay down or play with burgers. So she does have the theme of food, like me. So I thought I'd share a little bit about my studio. I'm lucky enough that I have my own studio. It's in the Cotswolds in the UK. This is what it started out looking like. When I got it, the roof was falling down and varying things. So I renovated it, and my dad helped me, as you can see there, taking down the wall. And of course, the studio dog was keeping watch while I did the work. So it now looks a little bit more reasonable like this. Unfortunately, I had a flood at the start of the year, so the view out the window, well, and also inside, was like this. I
Wow.
could only see that via the Ring doorbell, which, as you can see on the left-hand side, there were some ducks swimming past, which isn't a great sign.
That's usually a parking lot. What's usually there?
Yeah, that's the parking lot. I usually park just next to those stairs.
Hmm.
The first two were underwater, so it's about 13 inches deep, I think, inside.
Wow. So,
So it's being fixed at the moment, so it will get back to being how it looked previously. So I thought I'd share also a little bit about the work that I did prior to this collection. I went to university, I studied applied arts, and I love illustration. So my glass and my illustration sort of combined, and I created these. These were about 1.5 meters square, so I was looking sort of at large scale pieces inspired by people, which I think is a running theme through my work, and sort of looking at how people interact with their spaces, or obviously cake further on, but sort of rituals and how people interact with their environments. So this was a piece for the market and some of the details. So I like to work at that when I'm working on flat glass on the front and the back, so you can try and look at the perspective. And some gold, because who doesn't love gold? So to sort of alongside my practice, I teach classes. So I thought I'd show you a little bit about that. So these are people who have literally been with me for maybe 2 hours, and create some new pieces, and learn a bit about the medium of glass. I teach probably 4 times a week, something like that. So yeah, it's pretty popular, which is great. And this was one of my students who's been coming a while, who thought she couldn't cut glass, but she's cut, I think we decided that was 132 strips for that piece. So she can cut glass now, which is pretty cool. Yeah, and some cacti because I can't keep plants alive. So I also do commissions. So this is a splashback I've made, and a window before it was fitted. It was fitted in the winter, so the photograph I've got of it is not that great, but you hopefully can see. It was kind of bringing the garden inside. They live on in the river valley, so, or they live on the hill, but they can see the river valley, and they wanted to see that from the room that was back, like it's their dining room. And I also do public art commissions, so I've worked on, again with the illustration sort of thing, but sometimes glass. These were actually for bin lorries, and caused quite a frenzy in the town where they are. There's 12 of them in total. I did actually have to go and ride in a bin lorry to do these, which was an interesting experience, and I'm not sure when I'd like to repeat, but yeah, it sort of tells the story of the people that keep the town going. So all of the people with the yellow on the bin lorries, they were like gold. And then this was another one of them. There were 12 in total. And then I also work with schools. So this was for the British Council and a project called the Rivers of the World. So some of them did glass and some of them didn't do glass, and then we combined the different pieces to make sort of these that told stories. So the one on the right-hand side, they did part of the project in glass and part of it in paper. And the other two, they were about 5 years old, so they didn't do glass. And here's some more. And then for the Jubilee, we did this involved 5 schools and about, I think it was 150 students, and I was showing them, sort of introducing them to glass and mirror in particular. And this was their disco curtain that they created for the party, based on the Platinum Jubilee. So it's pretty cool. So moving on to how I sort of then became into casting. So this is actually me working at Colin Reid's studio in Stroud. It's been an amazing experience to work there. I assist in batuta cutting most specifically. But with that gave me the opportunity to sort of explore casting myself and what that would look like for me. And so I then, well, I went on a trip to Borneo, and when I was there, this mist that you get in the morning was what really inspired me and made me want to sort of explore that within casting. So that's where the casting sort of started. And also at night, how the light and the mist and the moon all sort of create these ghostly shadows. And I wanted to try and create that within a piece. So this is what I came up with. With the casting, I didn't want it to just be a clear piece. For me, I wanted to explore how I could force something to happen in there that I couldn't control, which I felt was very much like the fog in the morning and how that lifts over time. Whereas for me, obviously, it goes into the glass as I force it with the heat. So everyone is always different. This one's quite a foggy one. This one is less so. And they're all sort of jagged on the edge to sort of describe the rock. And this is one that was in progress. And it finished. So then lockdown happened after I'd started these pieces. And so larger pieces were a bit more difficult. I hadn't got my public art projects anymore. I hadn't got my teaching anymore. But I absolutely had that sort of key interest in making and learning and exploring glass and how I could do things that were slightly different. So I got myself a little wax pot and a bucket, and as you can see the boats out the window. The great thing of working on your own is you can still go to play at your studio, even if you can't go elsewhere. So lockdown sort of became a little bit like going back to university and having all the time in the world to play around and explore. And I was doing a lot of baking, and one of my friends said, "Why don't you make cakes in glass? I want one for my birthday." And I said, "You can't do that. That's crazy." Well, there were quite a lot of weeks, weren't there? So I thought I'd give it a go. So this is the first iteration of them. This is obviously them in wax. And they look pretty good. So I thought, well, let's give it a go and see what happens. These are not the first version, obviously. These are the ones that I created. It was amazing for me to be able to figure out how you could create something that obviously is so hard in, or so soft, sorry, in such a hard material. And yeah, when that first one came out of the kiln, I don't actually have a picture of it, which is probably a good thing. It gave that quality of the icing that I was looking for, and that's what sort of built this progress into making lots of things. So then I thought, I wonder if you can make a fondant fancy. So I bought a lot of fondant fancies and made these. This is them in their molds, and this is how they became.
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah. So it's quite a difference. It's trying to work out the sort of colors and how you would get that kind of solid feel, but you want them to sort of still have a satin finish rather than being shiny. You don't want them too matte. Yeah, they've been fun to create. So it then sort of developed a bit further. I was looking at how I could make so many more different pieces. So that's when the macarons came, and I was exploring how to make cakes. So this piece here is called Chocolate and Conversation. It became, I entered it into the Warm Glass Prize with the UK-based glass supplier, and I got highly commended, which was pretty exciting. So I was pleased with that. So I thought then I probably should try and pastel. So we've got this one, which is I call it Permission to Pause. For me, all of like the cakes and what that represented, especially obviously in the time of lockdown, was that it was a way of connecting with other people. It was how you can sort of still give that connection to people. You go out for tea and cake to connect with somebody, or you leave, in that case at the time, you leave a little package on the doorstep that they can have and enjoy when you're not there. And that's sort of looking at that and how, yeah, how you can sort of represent that within something that doesn't actually disappear in 2 seconds, but you still get all of the enjoyment, is kind of where I was looking. So I thought I'd show you a little bit more of a close-up of the macarons. I like to think that we've got pistachio, lavender, raspberry, vanilla, butterscotch, and chocolate. It's one of those things that when you're making them, I actually do call them all of the flavors, even obviously though they're not. So yeah, so you've got pistachio there. I don't know what anyone's favorite is. Maybe you can let me know, or if there's some particular flavors that people would like me to make. But for these, it was really important to me that you had that kind of crumbly edge. You had the shininess inside where you get the cream. They look so simple, yet making them was not. But it's one of those things, like all the technical processes. Each time you learn something, when you get something out of the kiln, you can look at it and analyze why or how did that happen? Is that what I want it to be, or can I do it better? So I think this shows you a little bit better the edge of the macarons. Yeah, so they all have their distinctive edges. So then I moved on to some more pieces after that. We've got the chocolate eclairs. I ate quite a few of those. Those ones were pretty tricky to try and create something that could be cast totally 360. Is something very different to what I'd been doing with the other things that sort of had a base. These didn't have a base, so it was a little bit more of a, how am I going to do that? And also the icing, you can't have flat icing, can you? So I had
Nope.
to meet the contours of the eclair, but we got there in the end. So I'm particularly pleased with those. And yeah, I don't know if you have millionaire shortbread in the US, but
We do not, but we should.
you should. They're pretty
Should.
good. So that's what you've got on the right hand side here. So you've got your biscuit, caramel, and chocolate, and it's always got the feathering on the top of it. Basically, they're really healthy. They've probably got an awful lot of calories in them. But trying to get the right consistency of that caramel is interesting.
Your attention to detail is incredible.
Thank
I can
you.
imagine these just sitting in a bakery ready to be eaten. And we talked earlier about the ones you order versus the ones you see on display. And you have some beautiful display pieces here that I would definitely want to order and eat.
That's the idea. So yeah, so then I moved on to some more things. So we've got the tarts. These the pastry for that obviously took quite some time to figure out how on earth you could create pastry out of glass. Some of my students that come to the classes would see the sort of stages of these coming to life and go, is that cake or is that glass? Can I touch it or can I not? So yeah, so they've been really cool to make. So you've got your strawberry fruit tart at the front. lemon meringue on the right-hand side. You've got a mandarin tart, you've got a cream one, and then you've got caramel, and then you've got your tart chocolate. And I really like the surface on that chocolate one. I think it looks like you could dip your finger in, doesn't it? And so with all of these things, I had applied to work a show at the Collect Open, which is in London. And this was sort of at the macaron stage, I reckon. And I never thought that they would say yes. However, they did. So off to Collect I was going. And in my wisdom, I thought initially when I applied, what I had was that's all I had. And they said yes, and I had 6 months to create this grand idea that I had said. So I told them I was going to create a full patisserie, and this is what I created for them. I think that my brother, when he came to visit, I think he said there were 127 pieces at the show. So yeah, it was pretty cool. But it was one of those dreams that I've had since university. I went to see a show and I said that's what I would like to be able to do one day. And yeah, so the patisserie seemed the perfect thing to take to that show. Yeah, so you've got all sorts of different cakes on there, and I think I brought the patisserie to life. I've got a video that I made for the show. I don't know whether you would like me to show that, Aaron, or do you want to link it later?
We'll link it later.
That's fine. Yeah, so it's all about sort of the processes and how and why. And I was lucky enough that I won't go past the video now, hang on a second. That I got a photographer came to the studio and took all sorts of pictures. So this was in the Telegraph, which is quite crazy, but it was pretty cool. And there was quite a big coup at the show. Unfortunately, I ruptured a disc though on the day that set up, and that meant that I couldn't move very much for the show. So unfortunately, last year I had to have surgery on my back, which meant that I couldn't make for about 7 months maybe, because I couldn't really walk. But that giving me an opportunity to sort of step back and work out where I'd like to take this. And as I couldn't really work with glass, I decided that I would go and really go and learn how to make cakes. So I went on a patisserie course, and now I've got loads of other ideas of how I can sort of, it's really interesting to see how someone makes it in real life so that you can sort of work out how you might create that in glass, because the interest for me is how you can make something that isn't all of it that it seems. So these look so soft and chewy, and then obviously mine are not soft and chewy. So I went to work with a local patisserie, which was pretty fun. So these are what we made in a day. It was a very hot day, so they don't fare as well in the heat than my cakes do. So yeah, this is what I made. But I also have been making sort of chocolate cakes. So this is one of my pieces.
I love the texture. It's amazing, your ability to make it look like it just came out of the oven.
Yeah, it's very much so like cake making, where you have to make sure that the temperature and the timing is exactly right, otherwise you get a pancake. You don't don't get cake. So
you're not doing breakfast, so we'll skip the pancakes.
not yet, no. So yeah, so that's what I've been doing. But the interesting thing for me is that when you get it right in one color, it doesn't then necessarily do exactly the same in another. So it's really interesting to me, all of that experimentation and how you can kind of develop it and really gain your knowledge within the material. So it is like having a recipe book, really. So this is a bit of a detail of I love making those ice gems. They're quite cool. So I thought I'd show you a little bit about the process. So this should show you. This is me making a cake. It's not quite how you imagine making a cake, I guess. But I have to do most of this by feel and not being able to see what I'm doing.
Mm.
So this is them in the kiln. And this, oh, that's not working now. Hang on. There we go. So that's them at top temperature when you can see them in the kiln. And I've started to make in larger batches now, which is quite fun because it increases my complex molds. So this is my donuts that were coming out of the, and I thought they looked pretty cool hanging on the wall in the rain.
Mm.
And this is working on them. I don't know how loud this is going to be. So it's all quite precise. I've turned the volume off because it's not very nice sound.
Mm-hmm. This is you cutting the donuts out of the mold or out of
Yeah,
the.
yeah, cutting the donuts out. So I have about a 5mm tolerance of getting the right bit cut off, which is quite fun.
Someone,
Hmm?
someone asked in the room, do you assemble them and then refire them, or do you use adhesive?
So the donuts are assembled afterwards with adhesive, purely because, so a donut takes either 3 or 4 firings, depending on the donut,
Mm-hmm.
because of the toppings. And because of the temperatures that you have both of those things, you can't then adhere them together with them looking right. So I cold them. Yeah, put them together cold.
That was from Catherine. Thank you, Catherine, for your question.
The cupcakes are made in one though. So depending, I want to make sure that if you can do them in one, they're done in one. Yeah. So the next thing is that I was, oh, it's going again, is it? There we go. The next thing that I got was that I've been given funding from the Arts Council to develop my practice. So this is something that I'm working on currently, so I thought I'd show you a little bit. I'm exploring scale and playing around with my French fancy and seeing how that might not be as literal as it is at the moment. And also the donuts. It's in the very early stages of the exploration, and the technical stuff so far has proven interesting. So we shall see where that takes me. And I thought I would show you as well some drawings that I've done. So I tend to draw all of my ideas beforehand. So I thought I'd show you some of the new ones that hopefully are coming up soon. So these are some tarts. And some fruit. I don't know what they're quite called, but these came to me in the night, so drawn them. And these,
You may have to cut the strawberries up. They look a little big in the first one.
yeah, the little ones. That was just they won't be that big really. And then the donuts. So these are the ones that I'm working on at the moment. But they were too warm to sort out before I came. And the piece that I thought you might like to see is these, which is some little mice. The reason I made these is because obviously it's called Not Grandma's Glass, and I feel like that's something that you'd go and have at Grandma's. So I'd make them. They're not ones that you can eat. So it's a play on the words. Yeah.
It's
So
fun.
that sort of me, and I thought we'd then go with some questions and see what people would like to know.
Sure. Is your slides over? You have more.
Yeah. No, that's my slides.
Okay, go ahead and stop sharing your screen,
Very
and
quick.
I'll show the video presentation on my robot of the entire installation. Give me 1 second to share it. You can tell us a little bit about it once it's playing.
Okay.
And I'm going to mute the audio so
Yeah.
you can see Good Enough to Eat.
Thank you.
And hopefully it's playing, and there you are.
Yeah. So this is making the eclairs. So, I was saying how they're sort of made in different forms.
I can see the adhesive now,
Yeah,
what you're talking about.
it's the best way so that you can get all the different textures, so you can keep what you want shiny and what you want matte, without sort of changing. I like to be able to make the surface with the heat rather than manipulating it afterwards wherever possible. So this is me making
I
my
swear you're
mold.
cooking.
Mixing my flour and my water or plaster.
Right.
Um,
Totally cooking. Forever.
yeah,
Cooking forever.
yeah. For life. So this is me making my mold. It's probably not very edible, but this is a tart.
See how big it is now in scale.
Yeah. So I've got smaller ones. This is a larger one. So yeah, they're the smaller ones.
And do you take molds of real fruit or you just
Yeah, so these are all cast from real fruit. The kiwi obviously is not. I
Mhm.
make that myself because it's got too much detail within it, so it's better for me to make them in by hand. I make real cakes though to get the icing.
And you learned a lot of this process working with Colin Reid, it looks like.
Yeah, so it was interesting to sort of learn and then develop it. I think he might think I'm a little mad now though.
He's a master of the wax technique.
Absolutely. It's really interesting to watch how he worked and then take my own kind of ideas
Spin.
and play with them. Yeah. I know when I first made the macarons, Karen, who's his assistant, put them by the kettle just on a plate to see what they look like. And Colin came up and was like, "Oh, macarons." And Karen was like, "No, don't eat them. They're the glass ones." He's like, "Oh, okay." Yeah, it's good fun.
Got a question from the audience while this plays from Rachel. Would you have any recommendations, please, for plaster or casting from your experience? Have you used Crystal Cast? Thanks.
I'm not. I just use standard plaster. It says plaster. I don't know what kind it is. And silica. That's what I use. I don't ever use one of the strange, like the more expensive ones. I just use a normal casting plaster.
No, thank you. It's
I
interesting
think
to
it's more
see
about
your
the,
magic happen with that kind of stuff.
I think it's more about the mix rather than I know you get told that it's better or whatever, but I think it's more about whether it's the right consistency before you pour it. Yeah.
This is a great video of your process and pieces.
Thank you. Yeah. It sort of captured the idea of baking and
Now here's the real question. How many people broke their teeth on your artwork so far?
so far none, thankfully, no dentist bills.
Good.
Yeah.
Do not eat.
Do not eat.
Yeah.
I like the drips on this one.
I can imagine like the details are incredible, and from the average eye, it's hard to tell that they're not fake until you physically touch them or hold them.
Yeah, like when I was at the show at the Collect in London, like they people came up and going, "Oh, cake," and then go, "Oh, hang on, is that real cake?" I'm like, no.
That's
But yeah,
that's great. That's great. Well, thank you, Sarah, for joining us today and telling us a little bit about your life, career, and work. And I'm excited to see how that transition happened from the pandemic and someone mentioning to you, "Hey, make me some sweets," and it changed your
yeah,
whole career.
yeah. No, it's been an amazing journey, and I think what I love about it is that it's always one of those things that you go, "Oh, I wonder if you just did this, whether that would work." And it's become this thing that I just have to keep giving a go and seeing if I can improve it and what I could do now. Yeah, it's good fun.
That's great. I'd love to see a little collaboration between you and John Miller, him doing the fast food, you
So
doing the
cool.
sweets someday. That would be a very cool show, along with a few others that dabble in food. Um,
Yeah, fun.
well, thank you, Sarah, for being here today. If anybody has any questions, feel free to interrupt me. Um, this competition and exhibition will continue on into the upcoming months. The can one artist every month for NGG, and the last year's winners will be the last 4 months of the previous year. And then we select the winners and we do it again next year. And we're so excited to give a glimpse into some artists' work that we don't have in the gallery or are working in an incredibly talented way that we want to shine a light on. So thank you again for joining me. Lots of compliments in the chat, Sarah, and I look forward to seeing you soon. I'm going to stop sharing and we'll see you next time.